Welcome to The Long Haul, the podcast dedicated to empowering small carriers and owner-operators to drive their business forward. I'm your host, Adam Wingfield, bringing you insights from industry leaders, real-world success stories, and strategies to help you navigate the road to profitability. Whether you're just getting started or looking to take your fleet to the next level, this is a show where trucking meets opportunity. So buckle up, it's time to go the distance. Welcome back, everybody, and I'm glad to start another exciting episode of the Long Haul Podcast. Obviously, you know our whole purpose and intention of this podcast is to give you real, insightful information and just inspiration for you as you go through your trucking journey. We love bringing upon the ideas and ideologies from various guests and various backgrounds within the trucking industry and within entrepreneurship to help you become a better entrepreneur within the trucking space. Today, I'm super excited about the guest that we're going to bring on today, who knows all about power moves on and off the field. He's a former NFL fullback, three-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro, made himself known as the name of one of the toughest and most versatile players in the league. Over the course of his career, he played for the San Diego Chargers, Carolina Panthers, and Buffalo Bills, where he became known for his bruising running style, clutch performances, and leadership in the locker room. He played a key role in the Carolina Panthers' 2015 Super Bowl run and was a fan favorite for his physicality. After retiring from football, Mike didn't slow down. Instead, he took his competitive mindset to the trucking industry, launched his own trucking company, and then becoming a full-time entrepreneur. With no further ado, on today's episode, I'm pleased to announce and pleased to bring on our guest, Mike Tolbert. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, Adam? How you doing, bro? Appreciate you for having me, man.
Nah, man, excited to have you on board, man. Excited to have you on board, man. Really, really excited to talk about the journey and really what you accomplished over your time in. I want to take it back a little bit, man. Growing up in Georgia, I went to school in South Carolina at Coastal Carolina. When you were growing up, was getting to the league, getting to the NFL, was that part of was that always a dream of yours? How did that kind of come about?
I would say no. I grew up in Douglasville, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta. And I've always just wanted to play ball, play sports, play football, basketball, baseball. Tried my hand at wrestling once, didn't go well. But I just wanted to play ball. I stayed. My mom was like, "You gotta keep the grades up in order to play all these sports." So as I got older, I started realizing that, hey, I'm pretty good. So I wanted to see how far I could take it. Never had any thoughts, aspirations of playing in the NFL. But the chips fell where they were, and I took advantage.
The one thing that you really, really overcame, even going into your NFL playing days, was really kind of that underdog. Just maybe not been the fastest. One of the things is you went to Coastal. Right after Coastal was undrafted, right? But didn't quit at that point. You kept on going. Tell us a little bit between the transition from Coastal Carolina to your first team.
Well, I'm a little bit different because I don't put a lot of stress on myself in a lot of situations. So when I left Coastal Carolina and went to San Diego, I had zero expectations out of myself. I just wanted to go out there and play free, and make it the best and play to the best of my ability. And me being able to play so free and fast and almost carefree, you know, um, the coaches really loved that. You know what I mean? I was able to play fast. I had to learn the playbook really quick. And when you got arguably one of the best running backs to ever play the game in LaDainian Tomlinson vouching for you as a rookie, it goes a long way.
And you had a kind of like you played, with a kind of, I guess you could say, kind of a mentor with Lorenzo Neal, kind of going through that.
hmm Yeah, I just talked to Lorenzo last week actually. Yeah, I mean he was one of those guys that like he taught me how to be a pro. You know what I mean? Like yeah, it's a job, but you also got to understand that you're playing a child's game for a living. So you got to be able to have fun with it, but also what it takes day in and day out to understand the game, to play the game, to listen to the game, to learn the game, to love the game. So a lot of credit goes out for my career too, Lorenzo.
The thing about it is too as well, as you grew and became, you went from that underdog and then really just start, just like you said, playing free, playing fast, and then you moved in and then, settled down in Charlotte at Carolina and, went had some really good success there. Would you say that Super Bowl run was that one of your highlights of your career? Was like one of the most defining moments of your career personally, or was there another moment that really kind of defined you as a player?
Um, the Super Bowl run was really fun. I'm not gonna lie. That was a definitely a special time in my career. I would say my most memorable and highlight moment of my career is my first Pro Bowl. We went over to Hawaii. Now, anybody that knows my story, I think me and you've talked about this before, but Antonio Cromartie was like my vet. You know what I mean? Like there's certain people that vets take under their wing when they go to the NFL. Antonio Cromartie was my guy. When I went to San Diego, he let me drive his car, one of his cars, because I didn't have money to buy my own car. I even stayed at his house for a little bit, until I actually got situated in the city. But Antonio Cromartie was my guy, and when I made my first Pro Bowl, I was here in Carolina. He was already with the Jets, and he made the Pro Bowl for like his third or fourth time, however many times with the Jets. And then I made my first one. And when we got to Honolulu, we were on the same team as a Pro Bowl team. So it just came full circle as to like that's my brother. That's like my big brother. Like I still talk to him all the time. So that's probably the most thing that's the most impactful for my career right now.
And now you get through the Super Bowl, you kinda go, things time progresses, move out to New York, upstate New York of all places too, no shade on upstate New York, but that's a cold place to go. You coming from San Diego to Carolina to upstate New York, that's a big difference. Um, talk about that moment that, was like, "Hey, I think it's about time to kinda hang it up and do something different."
Yeah, I mean it was an interesting time because I had a couple different options, but Shady McCoy is a good friend of mine, and Coach Sean McDermott was the defense coordinator here in Carolina with me. So it was already that familiarity of like going somewhere new. And I'll be the first to tell you that I had a completely different notion of Buffalo before I went there. Um, I love Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of the most enthusiastic cities I've ever been to. Whether it's the Bills or the Sabres, they are die-hard fans. And I love that atmosphere. The organization is top notch, 100%. So it was the transition was difficult because at the time we had just had our third child, and my wife was back home in San Diego where she's from and traveling back and forth. It was a lot, for that during that off season, but I think it was worth it for sure.
At what time will you say, "Hey, you know what? I think, yeah, football, I'm kinda cool with. I'm kinda done with it. It's time to, turn a different chapter in life." At what point did that kinda come in mind?
Um, I would say not until after that year in Buffalo, we came back here and settled in Charlotte. I was started doing my off season training. And if anybody that knows me, like I'm faithful. When I'm doing all season training, I'm up at 6 o'clock, eating breakfast by 6:30. I'm at the workout. I'm at the field by 7:15, and I'm out there till 11. You know what I'm saying? I'm working. I'm working on my craft. Make sure that I'm uh, 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 fulfilling all of my responsibilities as a player, right? And just one week, I couldn't do it. I couldn't get up early. I couldn't find the motivation to continue to push my body to that extent. And I had opportunities. I had different contract offers. I had different people looking to sign me, but I just like, you know what? I played a decade in the NFL. I'm more than more than good. Financially right now, my family's good. Like let's transition to the next phase. And honestly, it was a great thing for me.
So, Mike, you had a successful career in the NFL. out of all things, that would drew your attention, what drew you to the trucking industry of all things? You traveled the country, seen it all, had all things kind of going, and you said you stepped back, and I'm sure that there was a little bit of a transition time, right? You didn't just go from retiring and, hey, that first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go, start a trucking company. Like, was there like a, hey, I'm gonna just do me a little research, I'm gonna relax? What did that look like?
Oh yeah, so idle hands. My grandma used to say idle hands is the devil's playground, right? So I had to figure out what I was doing. So as I'm talking to my best friend, he's been driving trucks. Like when we graduated high school, he went to learn how to drive trucks. I went to college. You know what I mean? So he's been driving trucks for so many years, and he was like, "Hey, you need to get into it. There's so much money in it. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot to it, but if you can get it down, you know what I'm saying? You can. It's a really, really good investment. So I started doing. I went to YouTube University, right? I started doing a lot of like video watching and YouTube searching and things of that nature, and I started. Okay, I like this. Then I bought a course, learned how to do dispatching, right? So then I was like, okay, well, I can afford my own truck. If I invest in a truck and then do my own dispatching, I cut out the middleman. You know what I mean? So I went there and I was like, you know what? It's some other things that I don't know that I can't outsource. So I need a mentor. So then that's when I found innovative. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of just kind of, I ain't gonna say I fell into it, but once I fell into it, I started to love it, which began to me learning how to swim in the trucking industry, which I thought was the challenge of it. I enjoyed the competitiveness of trucking, of arguing with brokers and stuff like that, trying to boost rates and stuff like
So what would you say was like the biggest surprise or challenge when you first started? Like when you got your first truck, what would you say was that kind of, golly, I didn't realize it's gonna be like this? So what was that surprise or challenge that you faced?
So I would say it is three things that really caught me off guard, because I come from a background, like my mom's been in the restaurant industry forever. So it's easy to find a line cook. It's easy to find, good help in the restaurant industry. It's hard to find a really good driver. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to find a really good driver. That's the thing that caught me off guard at first. Second, um, the cost of upkeep, the maintenance is a good, like you have to have, which I didn't learn this until a year plus in, is you got to have a good maintenance plan. You know what I mean? You got to stay on top of it. Staying on top of it saves you in the long run for sure. And then third is the cost of fuel. Good gracious. Fuel, it can make or break your weeks for sure.
So would you say that your mindset as a professional athlete help or hurt you in the trucking environment as an entrepreneur?
It definitely helped because I enjoy competitiveness. I enjoy a challenge. And I saw it as a challenge. I saw it as when I'm, if my driver can drop 2 or 3 loads within this 11-hour one, you know what I'm saying? Before you gotta take that 10-hour break. Like I'm trying to do things in a certain way to make sure that not only I maximize my bottom line, but my driver gets benefits from that as well. You know what I mean? Trying to create partnerships. Yeah, I think it definitely helped because I created the challenge and I love it.
So you scaled. So you went from one truck, then came the next 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 truck. What was your mindset, and what was the factor that was really driving your decision behind that to say, hey, okay, it's time. It's time to I feel good right now. I'm gonna make the move to the next one. What was that decision like?
I think it was my level of comfort in the people I had around me. I was financially we were good. We were, like you said, I went from 1 to 2 trucks. So those first 2 trucks, we were I ain't gonna say killing the game, but we were making really good financial success. And then I had systems that were automated, whether it was my compliance, my 2290s, whatever it was. I had, thanks to you and the innovative, I had systems that were put in place that made it easier for me to scale, you know. Uh, so when I went from 2 trucks to 5 trucks, working those extra 3 trucks, like I brought on 2 dispatchers, and those 3 trucks ran just as smooth as the 2 trucks did. Then I brought on 3 more trucks. We were at 8 trucks within a span of, I would say, 18 months. We went from 1 to 8 in 18 months. And it was just smooth sailing, just smooth, smooth, smooth. And then, things happen. So
Yeah, no, I mean things are always gonna, take place, and you found out, hey, this is what worked and what didn't work. If you would looking back on it, you're just going back in reverse, looking back on it, what would you have done differently in terms of growth strategy? Would have been like saying, hey, you know what, you're competitive, and obviously having that discipline behind you. What would have been that one thing that you possibly could have said, hey, you know what, next time I would do it like this versus doing it that way?
So the number one thing, like I get this question from time to time, people that knew I was in the trucking industry or know that I know something about it. The number one thing I would do is I would be out front and in the center looking for direct freight. That's the number one thing I would do, because we did it. While we had some direct contracts, we did a lot of our work off of the low boards. You know what I'm saying? We had brokers that we worked with, on the daily, that would call us and say, hey, look, I got these 40. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? But if I can do it all over again, I would go with those 2 trucks, and I would find direct freight for those 2 trucks. And then I would have them, once they scale, hey, we got this many more loads coming in a week. Okay, I'll go get another truck. So that third truck can help cover some of that. I would do it that way. I would do a more of a gradual increase than I would just like, hey, we doing good. Let's go get 2, 3, 4, 5 more.
So if another, athlete teammate, came to you and said, "Hey, Mike, I'm looking to do this. I'm looking to do something. Once my playing career is done." What was the first thing you tell them about the trucking industry?
Get a mentor. Find somebody that knows what you're trying to get into. If you're not into it, if you're not a family, if your dad didn't drive trucks, your granddad, your uncle, somebody, if they didn't work for a trucking company, get somebody that knows, what to do. Like, I mean, we're all players. We all had coaches all our life, right? There's no different in trucking industry, in the restaurant industry, and the lawn care industry. Everybody's got somebody that can help lead them to a better success.
Do you think it's an ego thing, man, when it comes down to people seeking help when it comes down to business? Do you think that could be some, part of it? Or what do you think is, because like you said, you've dealt with coaches all your life, and it's something that really has brought you to, yeah, obviously you played at the highest level. In order to perform at the highest level in business, you don't see that as prevalent, I would say. Do you think it's ego driven, or what do you think is the issue with that?
I think it's just, I think it's people in nature. Like, I don't know if it's ego. I think it's people who tend to have more pride than posture, if you know what I mean. Like, so when I say that, I mean people like when I look at trucking, I understand that I know a little bit, but you know a lot, right? So if I need help, I know who I'm going to. But when I say posture, is like, so people will rather sit there and suffer in silence than to go ask for help. And I don't think it's ego. I think it's more or less a pride thing. Like, so you rather sit back and slump your shoulders down and figure it out on your own than to walk across the room and say, hey, yeah, I'm having trouble figuring out how to hire the right driver. Driver after driver after driver after driver, right? And my truck is sitting for weeks at a time because I can't find the right guy. What have you done that helped you, right? As opposed to me sitting over here like, man, I'm on 10th Street, I'm on Indeed, I'm on, what I'm saying, all these other websites trying to figure out who I can find, calling people like, hey, do you know anybody that know how to drive trucks? You got a CDL? Oh, you got a Class B. I need Class A. Like all of that stuff. Like, go seek the information. So that's the thing for me.
What would you say, just as a tipping point? Because like I said, you're talking about you've got, a lot of people look at the top line number, when it comes down to trucking. How much can you make? You know what I mean? Okay, cool. You got 5, 6 trucks, obviously you're making, well over seven figures at that point. What was a tipping point that you made that you realized you're like, you know what, I might need to pivot away from owning assets?
Um, Once I realized that the asset, while it's cool, the people that's making the real money are the people that, you know, don't have as nearly as high overhead, but make just as much. Like the assets, like I tell you to this day, I enjoyed owning the trucks, but the things that I'm doing now, it it's not all about the money, but I'm still in the trucking industry, but it's making me just as much, and I'm looking to continue to do more. So,
So you shifted your focus away from assets, and one of the first things that you were looking at was to how to leverage real estate from that perspective in truck parking solutions, and really trying to identify that. Talk to us a little bit about the journey and some of the struggles that you face. When it came to looking for properties and running into hurdles. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
right. So yeah, I did pivot away from asset based, and um, I am a self-proclaimed real estate agent, even though I don't have any license or anything like that. Like I'm one of those that'll be on Zillow and all realtor.com just looking for property, right? Um, so the hardest thing that I think that I found with truck parking is finding the right location. Because once you find the right location, you have to also understand the zoning laws and the zoning bylaws, and how the city views that property, right? The zoning could be for commercial slash industrial, 18, basically meaning that it is able to have a truck parking there, right? Or a massive, I think it's more than 50,000 square foot warehouse on that property. But also, you have to go through the city. The city may say the zoning is that, but we see it as a car wash, and that's the only thing that can go there. So it's tough because you can spend uh, 5, 6, 10, $15,000 um, before you even purchase the property, just doing the correct amount of homework to make sure that it's viable for what you're trying to do. Um, like for instance, I found a property within the Metro Charlotte area that is ideal. I mean, it's right in the industrial area, big warehouses around it, enough acreage that I could fit probably 300 trucks on it. And I'm going through that issue now, trying to figure out if Mecklenburg County is going to allow it. And they're also coming back to me. I just got an email Thursday from them saying that they are looking to do more commercial industrial, which is basically like warehousing, storage units, stuff like that, instead of just actual truck parking. And when I talked to the lady, she says that if truck parking is to be considered, the road would have to be DOT cert. Not the road, the lot would have to be DOT certified, meaning that I have to get DOT to come out and pave the entire 6.2 acres, right? And that is a headache in itself because that's a 2-3 year process.
So the crazy things you mentioned, that zoning thing. Many cities, like, we know truck parking is a major issue. You can see it in Charlotte area and most metropolitan areas where you see trucks that are parked long term on roadside, side of the road, on ramp, things like that. And I'm not talking about taking a 10-hour break. I'm talking about you'll see a truck on Sunday that's parked on on ramp and still there Thursday afternoon. So it's one of the things where the city knows the issue, but here's the thing. They resist the truck parking development due to the zoning laws. And you mentioned very specifically, you was like, hey, how the city views it and how, maybe the municipalities of the actual town that it's around views it is different from what it's zoned at. So, in your opinion, how can the industry, what is needed from an industry's perspective? If you could like say, hey, this is what y'all need to do to fix it, what would be the industry? What does the industry need to do to help improve that so it makes it simpler to be able to provide more parking solutions?
I think I don't know how this all works. Like I'm a small fish in a big lake, right? But I think whatever lobbying can be done, to the governments, because there is like this is a multi hundreds of billions of dollar a year industry, right? And this like if trucks stop, our economy stops, right? But we also need to know that truck needs to be safe. We need locations for them. Like it can't be on the home ramp, all the time. So I think if there's something that can be done, is to be able at these municipality levels or these state levels to realize that like if it's zoned for this, let that be the use. And if an investor like myself or yourself or whoever it is comes by and say, hey, look, I'll pay this for that lot if you allow me to do this. And they say, okay, cool. Not like you can pay that, but we want a car wash instead. But I don't know anything about car washes. You know what I mean?
So, what would be your vision for an ideal truck parking solution? If the city says, "Okay, Mike, here you go. You know what? We'll approve it. Have at it." What would be ideal? Is it just parking? Is it I don't know. Is it like having a bit paid parking, security? Like, man, we maybe have a laundromat on. Like, what's your ideal solution there?
So my ideal truck parking spot is anywhere between 3 to 10 acres. Obviously, we're gonna have security fence around. We have nighttime lights. Looking what I'm proposing doing is what we call a luxury double wide. Is it'll have laundry. It'll have sleep pods in it. It'll also have a full kitchen and refrigerator, vending machines, restrooms, obviously. We'll have 24-hour security surveillance, that's security company throughout. And ideally, it will be somewhere off of a main highway, within, I would say, I like to say 3 turns. So you get off and make a right, you're there, right and left, whatever it may be, off of a main highway. And it doesn't, for me, it doesn't have to be in a major metropolitan city. You know, you get a better value sometimes in those, you know, uh, off brand, out of the way, off of a main city, like an hour out, somewhere like Spartanburg, South Carolina, going down 85 instead of being in Charlotte or in Gastonia or something like that. So we're still looking for the right properties, but um, we got a lot of ideas moving forward. It would definitely be paid parking. I would definitely do a subscription base where it's partly monthly paid, but also I'll have some weekly spots. I want to also have like some daily spots where somebody's driving and they coming up on their 10-hour shift and 10-hour break, and they want to, they don't want to park on the side of a highway or they don't want to go to the pilot. They can come to us and park for that 10-hour break and pay for that daily fee or whatever.
So, like you mentioned paid parking, and that's and being in the industry, that's a very very hot topic. Where you have some that obviously that don't agree with paid parking, and you got some that feel that having paid parking is a necessity. Like, what do you fall? What would you say to the ones that don't agree with the paid parking model versus what would be your stance on that?
I'm on the like, so I think that we will use every inch of that lot to get revenue from it, because that's our job as a business, right? Is to maximize our top line so we can maximize our bottom line. So if I got have the ability to park 5 or 6, extra trucks because they're daily and we're going to pay for it, then that's what we're going to do. So I'm all for it.
Now, do you have you seen any successful truck parking models that inspired you to say, "Hey, you know what? I want to do this. I want to do that," or was that just all just, "Hey, man, this is what I think. These are based on what I see." What made you to make the decision like, "Hey, we're gonna put some really that luxury coded type effect into the truck parking"?
Well, I think I haven't seen any of that luxury stuff, but I've from me being in the industry and talking to different drivers and what they're looking for. Um, One of the things that excuse me that I've noticed is that they're looking for a place on the road that can kind of be called home. You know what I mean? Drivers don't always like sleeping in their truck. You know, so that's one thing that I used to do is I have a Hilton Honors account. So I used to, every now and then shoot a drive. Hey, here is a Hilton at X, Y, and Z in Arkansas. Once you go, you know what I'm saying, take a hot shower, that type of thing, wash your clothes, and sleep in a real bed for a night. So that's my idea where that comes from with the luxury double wide when you get, a real sleep pod, which is like I think it comes with four queen size bed pods. So you get a real shower, you get a real bed, you get a real kitchen, so you can make food. Drivers cook on a George Foreman grill inside the truck. Sometimes, it's one of those things where like just a place that they can go and feel welcome. And then in return, when you have nice things, drive people tend to try to take care of it because they know that like this is somewhere that I want to come back to, right? Uh, and I think just that added level of security, what I'm saying, the double high fence, it just a level of comfort, people pay for comfort for sure.
No, that's absolutely true, and you get what you pay for in a lot of cases too when it comes down to it, especially from that perspective. As an entrepreneur too, another thing that you kind of latched onto, and we if you're in the Charlotte community, you've seen you all over with the Rock Box. What inspired you to do Rock Box, man?
Yeah, so but that was actually my wife. My wife is so I use boxing. I've been boxing all my life, but I use boxing as my form of working out when I was playing in the NFL. So I would leave the field and I do my field work, and I would go boxing to do all my cardio stuff. Um, and she got into it. She had postpartum after our third when we were in Buffalo, and she got into it and she loved it. And she was like, "Hey, I think I want to own one of these." And I was like, "Hey, let's go for it." So that's where we kind of we pivoted away from trucking a little bit in the asset base, and that was part of the reason because I wanted to be there to support her, with the rock box, and now we're kind of balancing both of
Do you see yourself ever returning to trucking on the asset side? Is that something that you have a desire doing?
them. Yeah, I would say yeah in the future. Right now I'm really focused on growing this truck parking real estate side of it. But I mean, if there is a solid program that I can vet out, I wouldn't mind buying a truck or two, and not me personally, you know, starting another company and doing all of that. But if I had, let's say, an affiliate program that I felt like was doing it the right way, I wouldn't mind, investing in assets to put with another company.
Do you find yourself really passionately, going 100% in solving this being one of the pillars for solving truck parking? Is that something that you truly are passionate about from a real estate perspective?
Yeah, so I'm gaining so much knowledge of where the need is right now. I know there's a heavy need up in the Northeast right now for truck parking, but the real estate up there is astronomically high. And there's a heavy need down south right now too. So that I'm focused southeastern right now, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida is my main right now. And those are also places that I can drive to. So I can drive, I can physically put my hands on it and make sure that it's working the right way. But yeah, I've got a couple conversations going right now with a few different properties that we're looking to actually acquire some truck parking spots.
That's good to hear. Well, as we wrap up, one of the things I love about making sure that, everybody that we talk to on these episodes is to bring something to the listeners, whether it be an inspiring moment, whether it's something that kind of helped them get over that, that mental roadblock, or, whatever may that case may be. As an entrepreneur, you've been successful in a lot of different ways as an entrepreneur. Those that are starting off in the trucking industry, whether it be an owner operator or a small fleet owner that's going through the current market, obviously that there's ups and there's downs. What would you say to them if you had the opportunity to sit beside and just kind of lead a discussion? What would be some of those things you would say to them to make sure that that they had the right mindset going forward? Because that's something that you've been blessed with, to have that mindset. What would you do? What would be those words?
I would say, for anybody that is really looking to get into it or really passionate about it, trust your work, right? Good or bad, trust your work. If you put the work in, you put the effort in, trust that you know what you're doing and it'll all work out. But also trust that if you did it, you know, that if you just gonna try to take shortcuts and cut corners, it's something that you used to say that stuck out with me. Like, don't be the guy that doesn't push their shopping cart all the way don't put the shopping cart away. It's the little things that matter. Trust your work, right? Trust it whether you did it or whether you didn't, but also trust that those outcomes are going to take place.
Well, that's a big nugget to take away, and definitely, something that, sometimes a lot of times you second guess yourself because you're too busy comparing yourself to, what someone else's success is or where somebody else went in their journey. So it's important to trust like your steps and your processes because, you may not be, the first round, number one overall pick, but you still got to play that path that was given to you. And, hey, it might work out better for you, it's especially in such a case. So as we wrap up, man, there's one question that the production team wanted me to put out here. Is a very, very serious question, and really wanted it can help tie up this interview here. Where'd you get all those dance moves from in the end zone, man?
I don't know. I've always been a dancer, man. I like to say I live my life to a beat. So even if you see me in the house washing dishes, I got music on. I'm bopping. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Like I live with rhythm. Everything's a flow. So I just flow with it.
Well, man, it's been an honor having you on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you got a lot of things going on, but sometimes these are the conversations that inspire the next breed to make sure that they're doing the right things. So I definitely appreciate the conversation, and we're going to keep an eye on that truck parking journey. If there's anything that we could do to help facilitate that, just let us know.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you for having me, man. Good seeing you again, bro.
Yeah, good seeing you too. Well, thanks everybody. Another episode of the Long Haul Podcast. Make sure that you do me a favor though. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and make sure that you bring everybody involved that you can to get the message out and get the word out. Today was another one of those packed conversations where we had the opportunity to speak with Mike, who really just inspired us from his journey and his path as an underdog. And now what he's doing is phenomenal outside. So make sure that you take that information, make sure you execute on it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a good one and make sure you stay safe and keep it between the lines.